Imagine waking up at 75 feeling stronger than you have in years. You take your morning walk, enjoy breakfast, and have plans with your family that weekend. Then one routine medical test changes everything. Not because it finds a dangerous disease, but because it starts a chain of events no one warned you about. Sometimes the biggest health risk isn't the illness you fear. It's the decision you never realized you were making. A retired school principal named James believed he was doing everything right. He exercised almost every day, never smoked, and rarely missed a doctor's appointment. During his annual checkup, he agreed to one extra screening just to be safe. He expected peace of mind. Instead, he spent the next 8 months going from one specialist to another, repeating scans, taking new medications, and worrying about results that kept leading to more questions than answers. By the end of that year, James wasn't recovering from a disease. He was recovering from procedures that might never have been necessary in the first place. His biggest regret wasn't trusting his doctor. It was never realizing that every medical test has two possible outcomes: finding something important, or finding something that never would have harmed you at all. I've spent years studying preventive medicine and healthy aging, and one lesson becomes clearer every year. After the age of 65, your body follows different rules than it did at 45. A screening that once offered more benefit than risk may no longer provide the same advantage. That doesn't mean tests are bad. It means the conversation surrounding them must become much more thoughtful. One of the biggest misunderstandings in healthcare is believing that finding more automatically means living longer. It sounds logical, doesn't it? Find problems early, fix them early, stay healthy longer. But medicine isn't always that simple. Sometimes discovering tiny abnormalities creates anxiety, additional testing, and treatments for conditions that might never have affected your life. Doctors even have a name for this pattern. It's often called the diagnostic domino effect. One unexpected finding leads to another scan. That scan leads to another opinion. The opinion leads to a biopsy. The biopsy leads to treatment. Before long, a healthy person who walked into the clinic feeling perfectly fine is suddenly living like a patient. Please understand something important. This isn't about blaming doctors. Most physicians genuinely want what's best for you. They work hard, care deeply, and make decisions based on the information they have. But modern medicine is also designed to avoid missing problems, and that can sometimes mean ordering more tests than a particular person truly needs. Today's video isn't telling you to refuse medical care. It's teaching you something much more valuable: how to become an informed partner in your own healthcare. Because asking the right question before saying yes can sometimes protect your health just as much as the test itself. We're going to explore 5 medical checkups that many healthy adults over 65 should discuss carefully with their doctor before automatically agreeing to them. Some of these tests save lives in the right situation. Others can create unnecessary stress when used in the wrong one. The difference often comes down to one factor that many people never consider. And before we reach the end of this video, I'll reveal the one condition that changes every recommendation you're about to hear. Ignore that single detail, and you could completely misunderstand this discussion. But understand it correctly, and you'll know exactly when a medical test is helping you, and when it's simply adding more uncertainty to your life. Let's begin with one of the most commonly requested routine screenings after retirement. A test that millions of older adults still receive every year without ever asking one simple question. If this result comes back abnormal, what happens next? Surprisingly, that answer may be far more important than the test itself. Many private clinics advertise whole-body CT scans as the ultimate way to catch everything early. The promise sounds reassuring. Scan your entire body, find hidden problems before symptoms appear, and gain peace of mind. But for healthy seniors with no symptoms, the reality is often much more complicated. A whole-body scan is incredibly sensitive. It can detect tiny spots, harmless cysts, old scars, and age-related changes that have quietly existed for years. Most of these findings are completely harmless. The problem is that once they're discovered, they rarely stay ignored. Each one often demands another scan, another appointment, or another procedure simply to prove it isn't dangerous. Research has shown that incidental findings become increasingly common with age. In other words, the older you are, the more likely a scan is to discover something unexpected that has nothing to do with your health. Many of these abnormalities never cause symptoms during a person's lifetime, yet they can create months of anxiety while doctors work to rule out worst-case scenarios. Think about it this way. Imagine checking every room in your house with the brightest flashlight ever invented. You'll notice tiny cracks in the paint, loose screws, and marks you've never seen before. Most don't require major repairs. But if you panic over every small imperfection, you could end up remodeling a perfectly safe home. A better approach is to ask your doctor whether a whole-body scan is likely to change your care based on your age, symptoms, family history, and overall health. For many healthy older adults, focusing on proven preventive habits, exercise, blood pressure control, vaccinations, and managing chronic conditions often provides far greater benefit than searching for problems that may never become dangerous. Another routine checkup many seniors request every year is a long list of vitamin and mineral blood tests.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin B12, magnesium, zinc, iron, even when they feel perfectly healthy. It sounds like a smart way to stay ahead of problems. But more testing doesn't always mean better health. Blood test results naturally change as we age. Some numbers drift slightly above or below the normal range without causing any illness. Yet when people see even a tiny abnormal result, it's easy to believe something serious is developing. That fear alone often starts another cycle of appointments, repeat testing, and unnecessary supplements. Supplements aren't automatically harmless just because they're sold over the counter. Too much vitamin D can raise calcium levels and strain the kidneys. Excess iron may damage organs over time if deficiency isn't actually present. Even high doses of certain vitamins can interfere with prescription medications many older adults already take. Imagine watering a plant every hour because you're worried it might dry out. Eventually, the water itself becomes the problem. Your body works much the same way. It needs balance, not simply more of everything. Healthy aging isn't about chasing perfect lab numbers. It's about supporting the body's natural stability. Instead of ordering every vitamin test available, ask your doctor a simple question. Do my symptoms or medical history suggest I actually need this test? If the answer is yes, testing makes perfect sense. If not, a balanced diet, regular activity, and routine medical follow-up may be far more valuable than searching for deficiencies that aren't there. Let's move to another checkup that surprises many older adults. Thyroid ultrasounds. Once a tiny thyroid nodule is discovered, some people begin having ultrasound after ultrasound for years, even when nothing has changed and they feel completely normal. The truth is that tiny thyroid nodules become remarkably common with age. By the time people reach their 70s, many have small nodules without ever knowing it. Most remain stable for years and never become dangerous. Yet simply seeing the word nodule on a report can create understandable fear. That fear often leads to repeat imaging, needle biopsies, consultations with specialists, and months of worrying while waiting for results. Ironically, many of those nodules turn out to be completely harmless. The emotional burden becomes much greater than the medical problem itself. Think about wrinkles on your skin. They're part of growing older. You don't assume every wrinkle means something is wrong. In many cases, tiny thyroid changes represent a similar part of the aging process. Finding them isn't automatically the same as finding disease. If your doctor recommends another thyroid ultrasound, ask what has changed since your last one. Has the nodule grown significantly? Are there new symptoms like difficulty swallowing, persistent hoarseness, or noticeable enlargement? If the answer is no, your doctor may explain that careful observation is often the safest and most reasonable path. Notice a pattern beginning to appear. None of these examples suggest avoiding medical care. Instead, they remind us that every test should answer an important question, not simply satisfy curiosity. The best screening isn't always the one that finds the most abnormalities. It's the one that improves your quality of life without exposing you to unnecessary risk. As we continue, the next two medical checkups become even more surprising because they're often recommended with the very best intentions. Yet, for some healthy adults over 65, They may lead to treatments that provide far less benefit than most people expect. Before we continue, I'd like to hear from you. Have you ever gone in for one simple medical test, only to end up needing several more afterward? If that's happened to you, or someone in your family, share your experience in the comments below. Your story could help someone else ask better questions before their next appointment. Let's talk about your heart. Nothing matters more than keeping it healthy. But one mistake many healthy seniors make is believing that more heart scans automatically mean better protection. In reality, repeating advanced heart imaging without symptoms doesn't always provide the reassurance people expect. Many adults over 65 ask for regular echocardiograms, coronary calcium scans, or other heart imaging simply because they're getting older. They hope to catch a hidden problem before it becomes dangerous. That's an understandable goal. But every image has the potential to uncover small age-related changes that may never affect your health. As the heart ages, tiny structural changes naturally appear. Valves may become slightly thicker. The heart muscle may stiffen a little. Mild calcium buildup can occur over decades without causing symptoms. These findings often sound alarming on paper, yet many never require invasive treatment. The hidden risk comes when every small finding triggers another investigation. More imaging, more specialist visits, more procedures, sometimes ending with treatments that offer very little benefit for someone who feels completely well. The goal should never be to chase every imperfection. The goal is to protect the person, not the scan. Think of your favorite old watch. After years of faithful service, it may develop tiny scratches on the glass. Those marks don't stop it from keeping perfect time. Aging hearts are similar. Not every visible change means the engine is failing. Sometimes it simply reflects a life well lived. If your doctor recommends repeat heart imaging, ask an important question. Will this test change my treatment, or are we simply monitoring something that has remained stable? If the answer is that nothing would change regardless of the result, it opens the door for a thoughtful discussion about whether the test is truly necessary. If your doctor recommends repeat heart imaging, ask an important question. Will this test change my treatment, or are we simply monitoring something that has remained stable? If the answer is that nothing would change regardless of the result, it opens the door for a thoughtful discussion about whether the test is truly necessary. Here's why. Cancer screening works best when doctors know exactly what they're looking for and who is most likely to benefit. Broad blood panels sometimes detect signals that are uncertain or difficult to interpret. An unclear result can quickly lead to expensive scans, biopsies, and weeks of anxiety before anyone knows whether there is actually a problem. Studies continue to evaluate how accurate these newer tests are in different age groups. While they hold exciting promise, no screening test is perfect. False alarms can happen, and every false alarm carries emotional stress along with the possibility of unnecessary follow-up procedures. Imagine hearing a smoke alarm in your home every few days, even when there's no fire. Eventually, each alarm creates panic before you discover it's only steam from the shower or burnt toast. Medical testing can work the same way. The more sensitive the alarm becomes, the more important it is to know whether it's detecting real danger or harmless background noise. Instead of asking, "Can this test find cancer?" ask something even more important. Has this test been shown to help people my age live longer or healthier lives? That's the question that truly matters. A test isn't valuable simply because it finds something. It must also improve outcomes in a meaningful way. By now, you've probably noticed that all 5 checkups share one common lesson. The smartest healthcare decisions rarely come from saying yes to everything or no to everything. They come from understanding your personal risk, your current health, your symptoms, and the real benefits versus the real downsides of every recommendation. And that's exactly where many seniors gain the greatest advantage. Not because they become medical experts overnight, but because they learn to ask thoughtful questions that lead to better conversations with their healthcare team. Those conversations often result in care that is more personalized, more balanced, and ultimately more effective. But here's the encouraging news. Avoiding unnecessary testing doesn't mean ignoring your health. In fact, there are several evidence-based habits that protect your body far more consistently than chasing every possible abnormal result. We'll talk about those next. and one inspiring story proves just how powerful this approach can be. So, what should you do before agreeing to any routine medical checkup after 65? Start by asking 5 simple questions. First, why do I need this test based on my personal health, not just my age? That question alone can completely change the conversation and help your doctor explain the true purpose of the screening. Second, ask, if this test finds something, what happens next? Every screening has a pathway. Sometimes that pathway leads to life-saving treatment. Other times, it leads to months of follow-up testing for findings that may never become dangerous. Understanding the next step before taking the first one helps you make an informed decision. Third, ask about the risks. Every medical procedure, no matter how routine, has potential downsides. Knowing the chances of false positives, complications, or unnecessary treatment allows you to weigh the benefits against the risks instead of making decisions based solely on fear. Fourth, ask whether there's a safer or less invasive alternative. Sometimes the answer is no, and that's perfectly reasonable. But in other situations, monitoring, lifestyle improvements, or a simpler test may provide enough information without exposing you to additional procedures. Finally, ask the most important question of all. Will this test help me live longer or live better? That's the heart of preventive medicine. The goal isn't simply to discover more medical conditions. The goal is to improve the quality and length of your life. Here's the hopeful part that often gets overlooked. The greatest improvements in healthy aging usually don't come from another scan or another blood test. They come from the habits you repeat every single day. Regular walking, strength training, healthy eating, quality sleep, managing blood pressure and blood sugar, staying socially connected. These simple actions consistently outperform many expensive screenings when it comes to preserving independence. Modern medicine is an incredible gift. It has saved millions of lives. But its greatest strength isn't ordering every possible test. It's knowing which test is right for the right person at the right time. That's where experience, good communication, and individualized care make all the difference. Let me leave you with the story of Margaret, a 74-year-old grandmother who loved hiking with her grandchildren. During a routine visit, she was offered several optional screening tests. Instead of immediately agreeing, she politely asked her doctor to explain how each one would change her care. Together, they decided that 2 of the tests weren't necessary based on her health history and current condition. Instead, Margaret focused on improving her balance, building muscle strength, eating more protein, and keeping her blood pressure under excellent control. 3 years later, she wasn't spending her time moving between specialists. She was planning another hiking trip with the people she loved most. Her confidence came not from avoiding healthcare, but from making informed decisions together with her doctor. Remember this, growing older doesn't mean saying yes to every medical test. It means becoming wise enough to know which ones truly protect your future. The healthiest seniors aren't always the ones who undergo the most procedures. They're often the ones who understand their bodies, ask thoughtful questions, and make decisions based on evidence instead of fear. Today, we explored 5 routine medical checkups that deserve a thoughtful conversation after age 65. Whole-body CT scans without symptoms. Routine vitamin blood panels without a medical reason. Repeated thyroid ultrasounds for stable nodules. A heart imaging performed simply for reassurance. Broad cancer blood panels used without clear clinical guidance. The lesson isn't to refuse these tests. It's to understand when they truly provide value, and when a different approach may be the wiser choice. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 5 medical checkups has your doctor recommended? Or which one surprised you the most? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might help another family make a more informed decision before their next appointment. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Every week, we share practical, evidence-based advice to help adults over 60 live healthier, stronger, and more independent lives. And if you know a parent, spouse, sibling, or close friend over 65, send them this video today. One conversation could make a meaningful difference at their next doctor's visit. Before we finish, one final reminder. This video is for educational purposes only and should never replace personalized medical advice. Every person has a unique health history, medications, family background, and risk profile. Always discuss medical decisions with your own healthcare provider before starting, stopping, or delaying any test or treatment. Take care of yourself, stay curious, ask good questions. And remember, informed decisions are one of the most powerful medicines you can ever have.